Hello, 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 and welcome to Babes Who Brand. I am your hostess, the Diamond Diva, Famira M. Green, and I'm excited to be here today with this amazing woman who is actually in the same area as me. So, normally I am interviewing people that are in different parts of the country or different continents. And so today to actually be talking to somebody that is rocking it out right here in the 757 area of Virginia with me is so exciting for me. And so I am joined by Shonta Prince. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you so much for this great opportunity.
Wonderful. So we have we have a couple people that are watching that are actually right here in the 757 area with us as well. So I see them shouting in the chat already. Hey, Tammy. So that is awesome. But I just want to share just a little bit with those that are watching that may not be familiar with you on exactly who you are and why this is about to be such a great conversation. And so
Sure.
Shonta Prince is someone who helps women to discover their purpose, create profitable businesses, and break through the limitations of fear. She is a Navy veteran and a transition strategist. She's also a well sought after speaker. And what I loved best about her bio when I read it was the part that says a trailblazer. Everyone that knows me knows that I'm all about women that are trailblazing paths. And so she is a trailblazer with strong educational and ministerial acumen and entrepreneurial ingenuity. Oh my gosh, it must be the weather. I'm like, why are my lips not working?
Weather girl.
What is happening? So anyway, but so I'm excited to have you here with us today to have this candid conversation just on business and branding. And I want to really talk about those women that are in the military that are looking to transition, because I think that a lot of times that is not a audience that people talk about or really speak to, but there's a lot of women that get out of the military, retire, or just decide they want to move on, and then they want to get into entrepreneurship, and there's different challenges that they may face in doing so. So I would love for you to just talk a little bit more about what Boots to Brilliance is, and how you got started with that movement.
Sure. So I came up with the idea of Boots to Brilliance because I did 10 years in the Navy on active duty, and I had some really major identity crisis when I transitioned out of the Navy, because what a lot of people don't realize about women and people in general in the military is that the military is not just a job, it's a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And so when you transition, it's like, I'm not just going to a different job. Like, I have to really change my entire lifestyle in order to be successful as a veteran. And so when I transitioned out, I realized that I didn't know who I was without my uniform. So I had to struggle to find out, well, who is Shonta without the uniform? I've left this organization, and everything that I ever knew is changing right now. And so I came up with the idea of Boots to Brilliance because I really had to go from being in my military boots to coming into the brilliance of who I am and who God created me to be as an individual. And so I think that a lot of people can relate to the identity issue, because it could be something as simple as it could be a divorce, it could be losing a loved one, anything that could send you into a spiral of a transition and thinking, wait a minute, who am I without this person?
Right.
Who am I without, this situation? So lots of people are able to relate to that crisis of discovering who they are. And so through finding out who I am and finding out what I'm passionate about, I came into the brilliance of who I am and who God created me to be. And now I help other women to do the same thing just by finding out what you're good at. How can you also create an income or build a business based on what you're already good at and who you already are? It is the most phenomenal thing that I feel women can do, is just take who you are and learn how to monetize it, learn how to make money from it. That way, your job does not feel like work. It's actually fun because you love it, and it's what you're naturally gifted at. So that was the birthing of Boots to Brilliance.
Awesome. And so when you said that, I was putting out a couple of tweetables so our audience can be tweeting them out. But I think that that's something that a lot of people don't really realize is the fact of the military really being a lifestyle and not just a job, unless you're in the military or you're around the military, you know, community. So
Right.
being from Hampton, I was born and raised here in Hampton, and so Hampton Roads is a big military area because we have Air Force, we have Navy, you know, all the different branches. And so my parents both were in the military, but they both were out before I was born. So I didn't live the military child lifestyle, but I grew up around military life. And so I have seen exactly what you were talking about happen so many times in my parents' friends or friends of mine that have, you know, went into the military and then got out and then was like, what do I do now? So I think that that is awesome that you started this movement in order to do that. And like you said, not just for military, but for anyone that is transitioning. I think a lot of times we don't factor that in. And when you're looking at branding yourself, that's all a part of your story, right? And so how do you work with clients to make sure that they incorporate that part of their life into the brands that they
Very powerful. I actually had a client one time who, this is amazing because it shows the power of including your story into your brand. I had a client who she paid me $2,000 to coach her, but she said the reason why I want to work with you and the thing that attracted me to you is your story. And so for me, that was like a powerful revelation. Like, wow, this woman was attracted to me because of my story. It wasn't because of how I looked. It wasn't because of my colors. It was because of my story. And that drew her in. And it caused me to be able to make even more money just by being able to share my story and relate to other people.
Right. So true. So true. And so it seems like to me, you know, I work primarily with women, of course, in my business. And it seems like this is an area that's so hard for so many women to really run with, sharing their story for various reasons, whether it's, you know, embarrassment or, you know, they're extra private or shy. There's a multitude of reasons why, but people don't really understand that that's where the power is. And so, one, is that something that you encounter with helping your clients, that they don't want to share their story, or they only want to share like parts of it, the good parts, but not the whole thing? And if so, like, how do you help them move beyond that and get the courage to really share the entire story?
The first thing that I do with my clients is when we're sitting down and we're talking about branding and we're talking about business, is I have them take an inventory of their past experiences, their gifts, their talents, and basically it's all about purpose. Before we even get into the business part, we're talking about your purpose. What experiences you have, what revelations do you have about who you already are? What gifts do you have? What talents do you have? What things have you done in your past that really made you feel like, oh, and I could do this forever, even if I'm not making money from it, I could just do this forever. And so we start looking at those things, and that's how we start to build the brand. So what I do is I kind of treat it like it's a normal part of the process. Instead of coming and saying, okay, you're going to have to tell your story, I just weave it into the process, because I feel like if I separate it and make it like a separate thing, like, okay, now we need to get into your story, then it's like, oh, I don't really know if I really want to do that. So I just kind of weave it into the process as, okay, this is normal. This is a part of the process of branding. And one of the things that I also did with my current clients that I have right now, is I showed them some examples of very successful people who, when you go and you read their bio, you can see their story in their biography and how important it is to share your story and to look at it as not as you exposing yourself, but you helping somebody else.
Right.
The things that you've been through, your experiences could be very helpful for somebody else, and especially for your own clients.
Right. So true, because because ultimately we connect to the story regardless of what the story is. So even when you look at larger brands, your
Mhm.
major brands, Targets, Walmarts, even those brands, you shop at whichever one you shop at because you have bought into the story, right? That they are
Exactly.
telling about
Hmm.
the people that shop there, that whole thing.
Right.
Walmart is always weaving a story of families,
Hmm.
community and things like that.
Right.
And so it's not just about the pricing, it's about
Mhm.
the experience, right? And the
Right.
story is part of the experience. So what I have found to be true, and I would love to hear your take on it too, is that what I tell a lot of people when I'm sharing and speaking is that ultimately, yes, people want results, but
Mhm.
people hire you for the journey that you're going to take them on, because
Exactly.
you and I, we both do branding, and we both get results for our clients. But at the end of the day, the journey that you take them on is different than the journey I take them on. And then people
Exactly.
relate to who they feel is going to take them on the journey they want to go on. So, what do you think about that?
Right. I totally agree. And this is one of the things that I love to help, especially women, to understand is that everybody has a different journey. And as long as I'm being who I am and you're being who you are, we're going to attract the people who we're called to help. And I tell people, you're not called to everybody. And for
Right.
me personally, I don't want to work with anybody who I'm not called to because it's going
Yeah.
to be so difficult to get over. I want the ones who I'm called to work with. And when I tell my story, they're going to be attracted to that. My story is going to draw them in. So even if you and I are both on the same platform, just like we are right now, there are certain people that are going to be drawn to you for who you are, and certain people that are going to be drawn to me for who I am. But we have to understand that those are the people who we're called to. If they're being drawn in, if they're being attracted by our stories, those are the ones who we're called to serve. And so, one of the most important things, especially for those who are listening, is to always remember when you share your story, is to you want to share your story, but there's a strategy behind how you share your story. I had one of my clients, we were working on her biography and her story, and she shared only the down parts of the story. And I said, okay, well, you don't want to leave people depressed. So, because
Right.
we all have struggles in life, and the struggle is where we really find our power. But I said you can't just share the struggle and leave people feeling depressed. I said you want to share the down parts, but you want to share the upcome. You want
Yeah.
to share the part where you came back up and the part where you overcame, so that
Right.
people can say, you know what, I really can recover from this. So you always want to share on your way down, where you crashed at, and then how you came back up. So you always want to leave people in a point where they're like, oh man, that's such a great story. And it makes them realize not only can I relate to that story, but I can also come back from whatever it is that I've been through.
Right. Right. And that's the whole thing. At the end of the day, you want to empower them
Exactly.
with your story and not add more stress.
Right.
Like, dang, I'll never make it, type of thing. So, so that's so true. But I love the fact that you said that you want to work with the people that you're called to work with. It's so funny that you say that, because in my business, I don't call clients, people always talk about your target market and your ideal clients. For me, I've always called them my destiny clients,
Oh, yeah.
because I've always said I want to work with those people that I've been destined to work with. And,
Powerful.
and so a lot of times I was like, well, no one's going to know what you mean by that. You have to say this, the terminology that people know. And I was like, I refuse to, because I don't want to work with a target market.
Right.
Like, I want to work with destiny clients. And so, I just kept saying that, and that was a part of my story, and I put all of that in there, and now that's exactly who I attract. I attract those women that not only do I feel called to, but they feel called to me, to work with me. So it's very important that you stay true. For anyone that's watching, I want to say that you stay true to what you believe and what you feel God has placed in you, to share and say, regardless of what coaches or anyone, tells you, because at the end of the day, it has to be authentic to who you are. And so, so that was just a little segue, because when you said that, I was like, yes, someone gets it. What I've been saying all this time. So, but moving into, talking about, I always like to ask the women that come to my platform, what is it that you feel that most women in business, because our journey is definitely different than our male counterparts, what is it for women that you feel is the hardest thing when it comes to them moving into the realm of where their business is truly a business and not a hobby, and being able to up level their business and their brand?
Well, that's really easy, because that's an easy response for me, because most of the issues that my clients have in common is being afraid to charge what they're worth.
Yes.
And I think that because women, we're so used to taking care of other people, especially if you have a husband, or if you have children, or if you work in ministry. And this is another major issue that not only women face, but especially women in ministry, is feeling comfortable charging what you're worth, and just not valuing ourselves as business women. And so it's a struggle, because businesses make money, and that's the purpose for being in business, is for profit. And so I've had people come to me and say, well, I want to coach, but I just want to coach for free. And I want to coach people in my church. And I tell them, well, I'm not about to help you coach for free. If you want to coach for free, I'm not the one for you, because I'm not about to show you how to start this if you're going to do it for free. I want to show you how to start your business so that you can be profitable, so that you can live the kind of lifestyle that you deserve to have, and really just create the life that you want. And I'm so passionate about that, is because I've been in the Navy, where my life was what somebody else said it was going to be. I had to go out to sea on board ships, and I had to work the midnight shifts from 7 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock the next morning. And I decided, you know what, I'm about to make my life what I want it to be, and not what somebody else wants it to be. So it's really important for us women to understand we can kind of lifestyles that we want, if we're able to overcome that part about charging what we're worth and feeling comfortable talking about money.
Right. And that's so funny, because every time I ask that question, I would say probably out of this is the 10th episode, so probably at least 6 of the people, maybe 7, all said the same thing. All the people that I've asked have said that same thing, that's where a lot of women struggle at, is charging their worth. Mm-hmm. And even what I find too, and I've done this, so I say we when I say this, because I have definitely in this part, is that when you do set it, and then someone comes and then it's like, oh, but I'll discount it for you, or we kind of backtrack, or even if you set it and one person has paid it, it's like, oh, one person paid that rate, then it's still like, but I don't know if any more people are gonna do it. It's just that person. And so really just getting to the point where you are able to stand and say, this is what it is, and and being confident in that. I also think that too, and you can tell me what you think about this, I think that too is also because, especially with new entrepreneurs, a lot of times they're afraid to set their worth and stand in it, because they're afraid they're not going to make no money, and they don't want to miss out on money, right? And so it's a lot of times that's also a struggle, and dealing with, well, if I tell them this is my price and they don't want to pay it, like, is someone else going to come along and actually pay it, or am I going to be, poor because no one is buying it, you know, at my price. So what do you say to that?
Well, the first thing that I say to that is I like for people to understand, you know, everything that you've been through in life, you didn't go through all of that stuff just for nothing. And also to understand that the mistakes that we made are valuable too. So even if you have started something and it didn't work, there's value in that failure. There's value in the mistakes that you made, and that also adds to your expertise. Now, the thing about charging what we're worth is being able to attract the kind of clients who are going to be beneficial for ourselves. If you're charging what you're worth, you're going to get a different quality of clients. Because if a person is paying you $2,000, they're probably going to do the work.
Right.
Because of they're spending their hard-earned money to work with you. And so they're going to want to do the work. They're going to want to take the steps that you're sharing. And guess what happens when they take the steps? They get results.
Right.
And guess what happens when they get results? You get results. And so now, you know, as a leader, as a woman in business, you're able to add that to your resume, to your bio, to your testimonials, and say, listen, I worked with 10 women and they went out and took the steps and they accomplished A, B, and C. And so another thing about charging is that when you charge people what you're worth, you feel great about working. I've been in situations where I too devalue my services, and I found myself being frustrated because I'm like, this per dollars, and I'm doing $1,000, you know, worth of work, and they're paying, and it makes you frustrated, and then you don't really want to give your best to it because you don't feel good about what you're getting paid. But when someone's paying you what you're worth, you're excited to help them. You're excited to work with them because everything that you need is taken care of and beyond. And you can really feel comfortable working and feel excited about helping that person to get ahead. And they're feeling great about it because they put their money forth and are going to do the work. So it all depends on what kind of clients you want to attract. Right. And to also, one of the other things that I found about being confident in what you're charging is to always make sure you're providing value. Because as long as you know you're providing value, you can be comfortable with charging it because you know I'm giving you a good product, I'm giving you the best of myself, I'm giving you my best work. And so knowing that you're doing the absolute best, it makes you feel even more confident to charge what you're worth.
Right. And that's so true. And you know, and the thing about it is really being confident in your skills, right? And so what I always tell people is regardless of whether or not you know, you have a degree or, you know, in that area, but look at all of the span of, you know, your life experience and your business experience, every book you've read, every course you've taken, every webinar you sat on, you know, and you feel like all of that counts. And I think a lot of times people don't think that counts if they didn't necessarily like pay for the education. And it's like, no, if you've read, you know, 50 books on your subject, like, that counts. Like that helps. That counts towards your value as whatever it is that you're doing, service or coach or whatever. So I wanted to make sure that those that are watching, the chat has been going crazy. You know, everyone just saying when we were talking about the not charging your worth, we had a couple people raise their hands and say that was them. And so I want to let everyone know, because I know some people are kind of listening to this and multitasking. If you have questions, make sure you type your question into the chat so that we can answer your questions. You can use the /Q before your question so that it flags as a question for me. And we'll make sure we get those answers for you as well. But in the meantime, y'all know me, I can just keep talking. So, because I love this. Like, I love talking about business and branding, and I think that, you know, having these candid conversations too, I think is really important, because a lot of times people are getting fluff and not getting the truth a lot. And so that's why I wanted to create this show, to really just you know, share from a woman's perspective in this industry, like what it is that you need to really make sure that your business is successful. So I would ask you, for anyone that is watching, like I said, I mainly focus on women. Sometimes we get some men that watch, but the main focus is women that watch. But a lot of them are just getting started, or they're transitioning. So into, maybe they were doing one thing and now they've discovered that that's really wasn't their purpose and they're moving into doing something else. What advice would you give to them to tell them that they need to make sure they have in place in order to move forward in their business pursuits?
The first thing I would say is to have the courage to push and to continue to grow, because one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is, I call it new-itis. And it's, well, I'm new, no one's going to pay me, no one's going to want to listen to me because I'm new. And so I would say to have that courage to step out into something, because all of us have probably started a new job or started attending a new church or attending a new school. And at first, it's always going to be a little bit uncomfortable because you're not that familiar with it. But what happens after you stick with it and you start learning what needs to be done, you start to soar. And so it's the same thing with business, but we have to have the courage to take that first step and to get out there and to be okay with making mistakes. I remember a few times where I've launched something and nobody signed up for it. I've launched things and one person signed up for it. And so now the more that I continue to grow and to continue to launch, now I launched a webinar and I had 400 people to sign up for. And so for me, it was like, wow, I remember doing these and only one person would sign up or no one would sign up. But I didn't stop. I didn't get discouraged. I would say, okay, well, I learned from that. Now let me see how I can apply what I didn't do right to my next webinar. So having the courage to step out. And another thing too that I always suggest that people have is a social media presence as well as a mailing list. Those two things right there are keys to being successful. Now, people who still believe in doing it the old-fashioned way, networking, and I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying have that also, as a part of your business plan, where you're out, you're talking to people, you're networking with people, you're connecting with other women. And just like what we're doing right now, sharing platforms with one another. But you also want to have that social media presence, and you also need to have a mailing list, because studies show that it takes people about 4 to 7 times to see your product before they'll buy it. Mm-hmm. So that means if you have a class or you have a product that you've launched and you put it out there and no one bought it, it's probably because they've only seen it once. But if you continue to share it, you continue to put it out there, you continue to put it in front of people's eyes, then around about the 4th or the 5th time, they probably will make a purchase. But what I found is that some people get discouraged because they put it out there once and nobody bought it, nobody signed up for it. But it takes repetition. And so when you have your own mailing list, you can send out emails to your mailing list multiple times. Of course, you want to be creative and find different ways of presenting your product. But you can send out your materials multiple times to your mailing list. And not only that, having a mailing list gives you an opportunity to provide value to them first. This is one of the biggest things that I made a mistake in with my business. And I had really good stuff, but I'm like, how come nobody's buying my product? It's a really fast. But what I struggle with, and this is for anyone out there who is looking to start your business or want to get out there and get some clients, the key is to provide value first. Before you start trying to sell, before you start putting your products out there, provide people with some value, whether it's a blog, whether it's a free webinar, whether it's a free ebook, something that they can download, something that they can apply. Because when they see that you're providing it's valuable, it gives them the opportunity to get to know you and see what you can do. And then you ask for the sale. And so my struggle was, I did have a mailing list and I had social media, but I would only use it when I wanted to sell something. And so I had to learn how to provide people with value first and then ask for the sale. So having the confidence to step out, making sure you're also doing that. Don't hide behind social media, but making sure you're networking and you're still connecting. Also having that social media presence and that mailing list and providing value to people.
Definitely. Those all are so great and so and very true. So I second everything she just said. In case you needed a second opinion, I give mine. I mean, it is true. And and that's the whole thing is not, I think a lot of times too, people forget they work so hard and build a list. They put now freebie after freebie and program and telesummits and free webinars and all these things to build a list. But then once they get the list, they don't nurture the list. It's like you can't get on your list and never talk to them. Like you have to. Right. And I mean, I fell victim to that in the beginning too, because you just have so many other parts going on that sometimes it's like, oh, I got to sit down and come up with something to write to my list. Exactly. So, but you have to continue to nurture that list and share those value things, and make it special that people are on your list. So a lot of times what I've started to do, which has worked, is that there's exclusive content that only my list gets. Right. I don't blog it, I don't post it on social media, I don't talk about it on live stream. Like you can only get the content if you're on my list, because I need to make my list feel special. They entrusted me with their email address, right? Yes. And people don't play with their email address. Exactly. Right. So, just finding creative ways to give exclusive content to only your list is very important as well, so that people feel like, one, because then people start talking about it and then they're like, well, where do you get that from? Oh, I'm on her list. And, then you get more people that want to be on your list, because the first thing most people don't want to have happen is they don't want to feel left out. So, so at the same time where you're showing value to those on your list, you're actually still helping yourself grow your list, because people want to want to see behind the red velvet rope. So I think that those are all really great things. And so I want to ask you too, in regards to speaking, right? Because that's how I first found out about you, because everything that I kept seeing on social media was always you were speaking here, you were going to go there. And even though I've been like so frustrated, because every time I've seen where you were speaking locally, it's always been when I was going to be somewhere else. Yeah. So I haven't been able to actually come to something, but I work a lot with speakers or women that desire to be speakers. So I would love for you just to kind of talk a little bit to those women on how they can get into speaking more, increase in speaking engagement. What do you feel like they need to do to aid in that part of their business?
Okay, so the first thing to get into speaking, the first thing that you want to do is you want to find out who you want to speak to. You want to talk to women over 40. Do you want to talk to single women with families? You have to find out who you're called to. And once you know who you want to speak to, then you find out where those women are. And so when you find out where they are, then you start connecting with people who have access to the people who you're called to. So let's say, for example, you want to help women in ministry to start businesses. Then you can start talking to the people who attend these churches and these men. Start networking and presenting yourself to them and say, because if you don't let people know that you're a speaker or that you're in business to speak, then you can't really get the invitations. But I'll tell you it's not really a secret, but it kind of is a secret, because a lot of people don't know to do this, is you can go to, for example, you can go to like something like Eventbrite, and you look at all the events that are related to your topic or the people that you want to talk to, your audience, and you can send emails to the event coordinators and say, hey, I'd love to be a speaker for your next event. Here's my bio. These are the topics that I talk about. And you can book speaking engagements from left to right, just sending those emails. But that should be a normal part of your business, is sending out those emails and connecting with people who are doing these events that you want to speak at. So wherever you want to go, start sending those emails and say, hey, listen, I see that you're your audience is the exact audience that I love to talk to. And here's how I can add value to your audience. And, you know, I'd love to be considered for your next event. So if you're sending out like 5, whatever your schedule permits, if it's 5 emails a day, that's great. If it's 5 emails a week, that's great as well. But that's one way to get started with speaking. Now, I will tell you that it's perfectly okay if you're just starting out to accept free engagements, just to kind of get your feet wet, just to kind of get in front of your audience and get the swing of things, especially if you're brand new to speaking. But I'm not going to encourage you to be free for long, but if
right.
free engagements are getting you in front of people and getting you experience. So let's say you do your first free engagement, and let's say you just mess up the whole thing. You forgot your paper, you forgot your computer, you forgot your business card. Hey, well, at least it was free, So I don't feel so bad for making all of the mistakes that I made. But once you start getting that experience, then you can really start setting your fees and having a fee schedule so that people know, okay, this is how much I charge for a 60 to 90 minute speech. This is how much I charge for a 90-minute to 3-hour speech. So you want to have your fee schedule set up. And just to give you a ballpark number, and I know a lot of people don't feel comfortable doing this, but if you're a brand new speaker, you could really comfortably start out charging $1,500 for a 60 to 90 minute speech. So I just threw that number out there just so you can kind of get an idea, because a lot of people don't tell you, okay, well, what kind of numbers are you talking about, or what should I be charging? You could start there, or you could start with wherever you're comfortable at. But the more experience you get, you should always continue to grow. The more you better yourself, the more experience you get. Don't stay there, but continue to increase and continue to grow. But that number is just for if you're brand new, you're just now getting started out. Charge, what you're comfortable with, but that's a really good number. $1,500 is a really good number for a brand new speaker, especially if you're bringing content. Now, keep in mind that brand new does not mean inexperienced, right? Because even if you might be new to speaking, it doesn't mean that you don't know what you're talking about and that you can't add value. Right. So get out there and network, put your business cards together, get your speaking topics together, and start letting people know that you're in business for speaking.
Right. So it looks like we have a question. And the question says, do you always find yourself speaking about the same topic? Do you always speak about branding? Or she said, I find myself doing a lot of inspirational speaking, but I will be doing business consulting. So I'll let you answer and then I'll answer.
Talk about different things. I'm also a pastor at my husband and I are pastors at a church here. We're not the senior pastors, but we are pastors in the ministry here. So I do a lot of ministry, teaching in ministry, but I also do teaching for women in business. And I do have a few male clients. I don't turn the men away, but my focus is women, but I do help the men as well. But I do find myself talking about business and branding. I talk about social media. I talk about how to put your products and your services together, how to create a coaching program, how to find out what people are looking for. And but I also always incorporate the inspirational part. So if I'm talking about business, there's always inspirational component that goes with that, because people sometimes need that inspiration in order to apply what you're talking about. So I go back and forth between, the inspirational and the business part of things, but I kind of weave it in there together because it makes your presentation so much more powerful when you can inspire people to take action for whatever it is that you're talking about. So if you're talking about, getting your first client, you want to give them some meat. You want to talk about some really authentic steps. There's no fluff, but you also want to inspire them and push them to want to take those actions. So you can have your set of topics that you talk about so that you become known for talking about these things and always have that inspirational component added to it.
Definitely. And so I agree with what she was saying. Even for myself, yes, I speak about branding, but this is where also your story comes into play too, because being able to share, some of those pieces and the transformation and journey that you went on, even to getting to where you're at in business and being able to relate that in, and then bring it in that inspirational and transformational pieces to it when you're speaking, does make the difference. And so you can do both. I do feel like most people, especially starting out as speakers, you should have, 3 or 4 like signature speeches or signature topics that you talk about and you become known for, because what will happen is a lot of times people will see you somewhere and they're like, I want that at my event, like I want you to talk about that same thing at my event. So you want to be able to have, those 3 or 4 signature topics that you talk about, and so that people kind of get to know you for. And then, but say also, I also talk on these bullet points as well if needed, but this is what I'm known for. So so for me, like, I speak on business and branding, but I also speak on self-love. That's a big part of what I do as well. So those are my signature talks. But I can talk on social media, I can talk on live stream, all these different things, that fall underneath that category as well. So you should definitely have something to give to the people because they're going to want to know, well, what do you talk about? And, and so just saying business consulting or, inspiration is like, what does that mean? So, but if you say specifically what it is, that definitely makes a difference.
Right.
So, do we have any other questions? I want to make sure that we get any other questions in, but we're coming up close to the top of the hour. So while I'm waiting to see if anyone has any questions, because I know we got started a little bit late, just with all the technical that we had, but we made it, and I knew this conversation would be great. Anytime there's issues in the beginning, normally means the conversation is going to be great. I have just come to realize that, and so I accept that as part of the journey. But before it gets too late, I do want you to let people know, how can they get in contact with you? How can they stay connected? And what do you have coming up that people should keep an eye out for?
Well, my website is boosttoBrilliance.com. I just typed it into the chat so that everybody could see it. And I'm on every social media platform, well, not every social media platform, but all the platforms that I'm on. You can find me at Shonta Prince, and I'll type that in the box as well so that you can see it. So I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Shonta Prince. And right now I'm working on, I have a couple of things that I'm working on as far as my business with helping women to discover their purpose and launch profitable businesses. I do have a current program open right now for new clients. It's called the Profitable Branding and Launch System. And what I'm doing is helping people to launch their programs, figure out what their brand is, brand new. So we talk about your gifts, your talents, how to put it together, how to put it in the package, and how to launch it, and how to accept payments, and all of those things. So that's open, the Profitable Branding and Launch Lab. And I have 2 other things that I'm working on, because I'm actually and it has nothing to do with this kind of business, but I'm working on opening an online store. So that's why I've been kind of like all over the place, because I'm also opening up this online store. But that just adds another part to, understanding branding and understanding social media and so forth. But in that program with these women, I have quite a few people in there who are coaching, and they're also doing the same thing that I'm doing, helping other women to put their programs together. But you can find me on any of those platforms, and you can also email me at shonta@boosttoBrilliance.com. If you have any questions about anything that I talked about, or if you're interested in joining that program, you can just send me a quick email and we can go from there.
Awesome. So definitely you all, stay connected with her. She gives great content on her social media platforms. I've been following her for a while. And so I'm telling y'all what I know. And everyone that I bring to this particular platform is because I have been watching them or following them and that's part of why I wanted to create this show, because I was like, I'm following like so many amazing women that are business coaches and branding coaches, and I'm like, I want to meet them. So I go with a show. So I created a show, which really just talks about the power of this platform of Blab. Why I love it so much, because whatever you need, you can actually create it as a show. So if you're looking to connect with influencers, and whether they're in your industry or in complementary industries, it doesn't matter. You can create a show around it and invite them to your show. And so I've had a lot of people, this is one of several shows that I've actually had on Blab. And so I've had a lot of people ask me how to do this. What do they need to do? They don't really know where to start. So I wanted to let everyone know I actually created a product called Become a Blab Talk Show Legend. And you can get it at www.impactonblab.com. You can find out more about it. There's 3 different levels. You can get just the toolkit that'll give you all the documents you need to get started, or actually have an e-course that'll be coming out May 1st that you can actually pre-register for as well at that website. And so the toolkit is only $27. Come on. And the e-course is only $97, but I give you all the how-tos on how to create your show, how to brand your show, and how to promote your show, because I have been blessed. My show is right now booked up through July.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm excited. And so we've already been talking to some amazing women. We have even more amazing women coming up in the weeks to come. I actually had someone that was like, I want to be on your show, and she booked out. Her schedule's so crazy, so she's not coming till September, but she's already booked her date because she wanted to make sure that she got her slot on the show. So I'm telling y'all, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this. So if you're having a Blab show, you may want to check that out. So we did get another question, and it says, you may have answered this, but how do you determine what to charge for speaking engagements? And so we did talk about it a little bit, so you can catch it in the replay. But one of the things that we did talk about in having the fee depends on if you're just getting started with speaking. If you're new to speaking, what Shonta shared was that a good range to kind of start at for a 60 to 90 minute talk would be $1,500 if you feel comfortable there. But that's a good number, and I agree with her on where you can begin. But it really goes into how long have you been speaking. Really also goes into how much knowledge you have behind what you're doing as well. All of that is going to determine. Do you have any final thoughts on that, Shonta?
Yeah, I agree. It's just it really, and one of the other things that we started out with talking about on that topic was that it's okay to do a few free speaking engagements just so you could get comfortable with knowing how things work and how to put your presentation together. And also it gives you a great opportunity to see how the audience responds, and you can also figure out what you need to tweak. Like maybe you could add something to your signature talk or take something out of your signature talk, and it gives you the opportunity to, if you're doing it, starting out free, it gives you the opportunity to see what people are asking after you speak. What's the most common question you get when you speak, and maybe you can include that in your signature talk as well to make it more valuable for your audience. But the key is not to stay free. So if you start out speaking for free, don't stay there. But you're only starting out just to get that experience. If you're brand new, you're just starting out to get your feet wet and to get that experience and to get comfortable. But then you want to make sure you have that rate set, your speaker's fee, your fee schedule, to where you have your certain amount for 60 to 90 minutes, and a good number is $1,500 to start out with if you're comfortable. So we also said that just because you're new to speaking, it doesn't mean that you're new to the content that you're delivering. So it's just for you to get the flow of your content and how you want things to, what kind of results you want to get for your audience.
Right. Awesome. So definitely with that, depending on where you're at with, if you have been speaking, maybe you've already been doing free speaking for a while, and now you are looking at, okay, now it's time to move away from that.
Right.
You want to look at what I always tell my clients too is already have set in mind, where do you ultimately want to be paid at? So say, for example, for a 60-minute, your ultimate goal is that you want to make $5,000. Number, but say you want to get $5,000 for a 60-minute speech, your ultimate goal, but you've been doing free, for so long. So a lot of times people are nervous about going from free straight to 5,000. So maybe you do 1 or 2 talks at 1,500, and then the next couple talks you do at 3,000, and then next you go to 5. But have in your mind, I'm only doing 2 talks at 1,500, then I'm doing 3 talks at 3,000, and then after that I'm gonna be charging the 5,000. Because what will happen if you don't have it planned is that you'll get stuck at 1,500 a lot of times. And you'll be like, why am I still getting
exactly?
So having your mind already, the plan on the progression with pricing, and you could do that with your products and services as well. What I do with a lot of my clients that are having trouble charging their worth, we'll be like, okay, well, we're going to charge this lower rate for the first 2 clients that come in, but then after that, we're going to this next one.
Absolutely, yes. I definitely agree with that. And another thing too is don't get caught up in comparing yourself to other people, because everybody's going to have different fees for their speaking. Like, you'll find that some speakers are charging $20,000 for a 60 to 90-minute speech, but they probably have been doing it for a very long time, and they probably have some kind of books or something that they give out to the audience or something like that. Then you'll find that, someone may charge only $1,000, but maybe they're brand new, but everybody's going to have different rates that they charge. So it's very difficult to compare yourself to other people. So don't get stuck in that person's charging that. You have to be comfortable with where you are and with what you're charging at the, for the point of where you are in your business. Definitely so true. No comparisons. Everyone that knows me, that has been connected to me on a brand, knows how I feel about that. Comparison, no, we don't do that. We don't do that around here, around these here parts. Right. So definitely can't do that. And because at the end of the day too, you never know the backstory, right? Mm-hmm. You never know the backstory. Right. Someone that has been paying, that's charging $20,000. You don't know how many free things they've done before they got to this point, even with that organization, because right. A lot of times people will volunteer their time and, do things with the end goal game of knowing that they want to eventually be a keynote speaker at this particular event. So you can't get wrapped up in that. You just have to map out your own course and blaze your own trail and, right. And do what works best for you. Well, right. I'm so glad that we were able to make this happen. Yeah. Me too. I'm so good. And that you were able to be here with us on today. And so I just want to tell you, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show. I definitely appreciate it. I don't take it for granted that you spent this time with me and my audience on today. So thank you so much, Shonta. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really enjoyed my time here. And like you said, even though we had the technical difficulties, we made it. And we provide some value. So thank you so much for this opportunity. And hopefully we can do some more stuff together, especially since we're in the same area. Yes, definitely. I'm definitely open to that. So we'll be talking once we can get our email working. But definitely that. And so, of course, everyone that's watching, you can stay connected with me at my website, which is www.famiragreen.com. That's F as in fabulous, AMIRA, green just like the color.com. And I'm on all social media at Diamond Diva FG. So you can find me there. I put it in the chat as well. And so you can just check me out and stay connected. And next week we'll be back with another amazing Babe Who brand. So make sure that you tune in next Thursday, 12 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back again. So thank you all for watching. And until next week, you continue to be blessed. Have a great day. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.